Hey, Ty Brady here with Brady Insurance Marketing and the Ty Brady Way, one of the nation's largest field marketing organizations that helps independent agents achieve a 6- and 7-figure income with the systems and strategies that I'm going to talk about with you today.
I wanted to talk a minute today about act or to be acted upon. What do I even mean by that? Let me see if I can put this in perspective a little bit. Let's say there's a lot of anger, disgust, hate in the environment today. And let's just say I'm driving down the road and somebody is on their phone. Or let's say I'm driving down the road and somebody cuts me off. Or let's say somebody's sitting at a green light, not moving. Those could be all negative, and that's really easy to find the negative. So what I mean by that is, so let's say I'm driving down the road, somebody cuts me off, and then they start tailgating me and start weaving in and out of lanes and decide to get real aggressive with me. Now, I have a choice to make. And what is my choice? I can look at them and I can be like, well, he has no right to do that. Why is he so angry? I can start returning some of the same behavior, meaning I can start swimming or weaving in and out of traffic. I can start tailgating him. I can start honking my horn. But what does that change? So what do I mean by that is that what does that change? All it does is get me angry, frustrated. I am acting upon that environment. And I'm letting it change my behavior for the worst. And at the end of the day, does anybody win? It isn't about winning or losing, but does anybody win? I don't think anybody does. It's a lose-lose. All it does is I wasted all of my positive energy going after negative energy. And one person once told me when it comes to money, Ty, you can take good money to chase after bad money, or you can let it go. And I think about that for a minute. What did he mean by that? You know, I could spend all of my resources and time and money to go after somebody for money because of principle or spite or because of anger, or I can choose to let that go and be like, count it as a loss. I don't know if any of you have ever borrowed money to a family, friend, or loved one, and then you were pleasantly surprised that it never paid you back, or it was never appreciated. I did it a few times, friends, family, loved ones. And I just said, you know what? If I'm going to loan somebody money, I need to set an expectation that there's a good chance I'm never going to get it back. Because if I set an expectation that I'm going to get paid back, if somebody's asking me or borrowing for money, I am going to be pleasantly disappointed. And I don't want to do that to myself. I don't want to set that expectation. We talked about acting and responding in a negative behavior. So I want, instead of acting upon that, let's just say, how could I change that? Now, first of all, it's first knowing within inside yourself that your mindset needs to change. So if I have somebody in traffic that's being aggressive, what can I do? Well, for me, I can slow down. I can get off the exit. I can smile and wave. I can joke, make a joke about it, or respond like, hey, that dude's having a bad day. But I'll tell you this, I've made the mistake of pulling out in front of somebody and somebody gets mad and aggressive. And what I do is I try to just wave and smile and mouth the words, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. We all make mistakes. Or if I'm sitting on a traffic light and it takes me a little while to press the gas, or whatever it is, if it's my mistake, rather than counteracting with a negative behavior, is I want to act for myself. I'm going to make the choice to be positive by smiling, by waving, by rolling down my window and trying to get their attention. But I don't want that to carry on in a negative way, so that incident or that situation was acting upon me. I was acting for myself. But you have to make the mindset that you are going to act for yourself. Let's say there's a discussion you're having with a coworker. This could happen quite a bit, where you don't necessarily agree, or he doesn't agree with you. And I'm sure it could get a little heated. It could be taken the wrong way. I get told all the time, Ty, you could be a little softer. And I'm like, what does that mean? Well, I have a pretty abrupt tone in my voice. I'm aware of that, especially towards certain people. They take offense because they don't know me, or I'm quick to react, or I don't act in a way that they perceive I should act. And I have to step back and say, okay, maybe I could say it a little softer in tone. Maybe I can explain it a different way so that they can at least understand where I'm coming from, not necessarily that they're going to agree. If there's a disagreement, that's okay. Disagreement is why we have agency. Disagreement is why we have the things that we have. And I don't know why more people can have a mindset that each party should be able to speak their mind, meaning each individual person, if it's a coworker. And then some things are, here's the other thing too, your mindset is not everything needs to be said. And what I mean by that is my mom used to tell me when I was growing up as a kid, if it isn't uplifting, encouraging, or kind, then why does it need to be said? Because let's just say I'm disappointed for whatever reason. Is it really going to change the situation? Or could I say something like, I would have liked to have seen you do this, and leave it at that? My daughter will ask me her opinion sometimes, and she's strong-willed, just like me, and she thinks she knows better, and she thinks she can do this and this and this. But for the sake of argument, it's not even worth arguing. You know, sometimes she needs to go through the motions, or she needs to go through those actions so that she knows. Is it worth my time to sit there and say, well, you need to watch out for this. You need to watch out for this, and this. I would like for her to listen, but it doesn't always happen or is always the case. But if she acts in a negative way towards me, I just need to be positive and say, okay, you're great. Whatever you think's best, honey. Because for me, it's not worth the sake of argument and trying to convince her otherwise. Now, she may realize down the road that I have a little bit, and as a kid, I used to think, well, what do my parents know? They don't know what I'm dealing with. They don't know where I'm coming from. They don't know they don't know the situation. They're not in my shoes. And that may be the case. But when somebody says, hey, Ty, it would have been nice for you to call me if you were late. Or, again, I could take that in a negative way, and I could let what they say or that comment act. I want to act for myself and not be acted upon. One other story, it's related to health. I think there are individuals out there that let their health impact them in a negative way. So they're not acting for themselves. I think society likes to give labels too. I act this way because of this. I act this way because of this. I would tell you to be mindful of labels. Labels can be good, labels can be bad. But act for yourself. Know for yourself. There's so much information out there. And if you want to find a reason the way you act, I'm sure you could find it. I'm sure you could get a lot of people to agree with you. But don't let their opinions change the way you feel, or don't let their behavior or the way they treat you act upon you. Act for yourself. Know for yourself. And if you don't, get to a point where you can. Get to a point where you're like, hey, I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy with my decisions. If your parents are saying, hey, you need to go to college, and you're like, you know what, I just don't feel like college is for me. Don't sit there and think, well, I got to go to college for them. Don't sit there and think that it's right for you. Know for yourself. I had a discussion with somebody at one point about college, and I said, I think street smarts is more important than people that go to college. And they completely agreed that we wouldn't be where we're at today without higher knowledge and higher learning. And there's some points to that. I don't disagree with that. I think doctors, there's a lot to know, and they have a lot of things that they've got to, the human body is changing, our environment's changing, and things to help us get better are changing. Just like any industry, everything is always changing and moving forward, but don't let those outside influences change the way you think. Act for yourself. Know for yourself. And you may not know for a little bit, and sometimes it requires going through the motions until you figure it out or it finally makes sense to you. There are things today that don't make sense to me still. There's a lot of things that do. There's a lot of things that I respectfully disagree with people. But know that you are you, I am me, respect one another, love one another. Know that if everybody loved and cherished their neighbor as themselves, what type of world we would live in. Don't create divide in your family. Don't create divide at work. Don't create divide within a marriage. You should be able to communicate with one another openly, and effectively and come to resolutions so that you can act for yourself and know for yourself. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Ty Brady Way. Feel free to share this with your friends, your family, your loved ones. Thanks, and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Ty Brady Way. As always, share, like, and subscribe. Go to Instagram at ty.r.brady. And as always, love hearing from you. And let me know what you want to learn on the show or what you'd like me to bring up on the show. Thanks.
You can find the Ty Brady Way on Instagram as well as Facebook. To stay connected with giveaways and Ty himself, go ahead and follow at ty.r.brady on Instagram as well as Facebook. This podcast was recorded, edited, and produced by Whitney Face Media Marketing. And the theme music is an excerpt from Hot Chicken of the Woods by Isaac Joel.
Welcome back.